What's up, you amazing people? I hope you're having a fantastic day. You are, of course, watching and listening to the Daily Dirty 30, also known as the DDT, here on The Kevin Lee Show. And I'm your host, Kevin Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know what the DDT is all about, let me take a moment to explain. You see, it's a show that airs live at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, and it's where I get to spend 30 minutes telling you, the viewer, all about the things that bother me today. What do I get out of it? That's easy. It's therapeutic. Why should you tune in? That's even easier. It's entertaining. Sound like a fair trade? Good. Let's get to it. What's happening, my beautiful friends? Happy Wednesday, happy hump day, happy airworm Wednesday. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Happy Wednesday to you. I hope that you are having a good day and a good week so far. As you can tell, I'm not doing terrible. Anyways, just to get the important things out of the way, you are, of course, watching the Daily Dirty 30 here on The Kevin Lee Show. It's a show that airs every Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and runs about that long, about a half an hour. And, of course, I am your host, Kevin. Today, we are going to be discussing headlines. Yes, headlines. Now, often we discuss headlines, so it's nothing new, but we have some interesting ones today, to say the least. We have actually a series of them. So, you know what? I don't really want to waste a lot of time with all this hoopla before we get going. So I'm just going to get right into it. The first one we're going to bring up is this one. Can you tell me who that is? Just curious. I want to see what anyone thinks who that might be. That's Kirstie Alley. Anyways, she is an actress. She is an actress who, let's just say, is known for many different eclectic roles over her career, and she's also known for being or had been, I guess, a member of the Church of Scientology, and just fill in the rest of all the other things that she has done. That being said, the reason why I'm bringing her up is because she was mentioned, or quoted, I should say, in an article about the Oscars. Now, you might be wondering what a person who has more or less been ostracized out of the entire Hollywood scene. What does she have to say about the Oscars, and should we care? Well, I think we should. It says, can you imagine telling Picasso what had to be in his effing paintings? Kirstie Alley hits out at the Oscars over their new representation and inclusion rules for Best Picture. So if you have not heard about this, what is going on is, and I think is it this way? Yeah, there we go. The Academy Awards shakeup means... What does that say? The Academy Awards shakeup means films hoping to win Best Picture. Boy, there's no punctuation in this whatsoever. From 2024, we'll have to hire more Black, female, LGBT, or disabled cast and crew, or address themes that affect those communities. Now, before you jump on top of me telling me, whoa, what's wrong with hiring more Black people? What's wrong with hiring more LGBTQ and disabled people? Nothing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, I encourage it. I mean, I'm sure if I was in that position, I would want to create more stories about people who are in these categories, or hire more people, or what have you. That's not the problem. The problem is the Academy now is going to be requiring you to either have stars that are Black and female, or Black and or female and or LGBT and or disabled. Otherwise, you can't be eligible for winning the Best Picture. That to me seems kind of wrong. I mean, it is their Academy and they can do what they want. They can make their own rules. I'm not saying like, oh, boycott them, or oh, they should all go to wherever. I don't know. That's not the point. The point is that the whole point of making a movie, right, is to make a movie, and to make a good movie, and to make something that moves people or inspires people, or creates people to think or challenge them, right? And sometimes that might involve someone who might be with, I don't know, a person of color, or it might be with a female character, or it might be someone with the LGBT community, LGBTQ community, or a disabled person. I get that, right? But you shouldn't be forced to have to do that. Should you? I mean, does that make any sense to have to be forced to do that? I don't think so. It goes on to say, Academy chiefs say that the rules are intended to better reflect the diversity of the movie-going audience. What? Let's read that again. Academy chiefs. Why are they called chiefs? Isn't that like bad now? Can't you see? Okay, anyways. Say the rules are intended to better reflect the diversity of the movie-going audience. Not society, not people at large, not the world, but these Academy chiefs say the rules are intended to better reflect the diversity of the movie-going audience. But critics accused woke Hollywood bosses of turning the Oscars into a weapon against anyone who disagreed with their politics. And that is true. That's kind of the fallout. That's kind of the problem. So could you imagine what's going to happen with this? Do you think, do you think the people are going to care? Like, do you believe that, and that, mind you, this is not even supposed to kick in, I think, until what, 2024, something like that? So they've got a while, right? But doesn't it seem strange that now they're going to tell you, okay, it's 2020, but by 2024, for your film to be considered for best movie, it has to have these characters, it has to be about these things, it has to have these people employed, it has to have these type of actors working in it. It just seems like they're just trying to shoot themselves in the foot, right? I mean, I know they feel like there's there's this air of change, in the world, and that things are going to be all kumbaya and things are going to be, but they're not going to be different. The police aren't going to go anywhere. Racism isn't going to go anywhere. And by creating policies like this, you're not helping things. You're hurting things, right? This doesn't help people get accepted by forcing people down your throat, right? I mean, I love everybody, right? I love black people. I love females. I love anyone who's in the LGBT community. All the love in the world for them. And I'm not going to have a problem with this, but the average person out there who's going to see this or hear this or have to deal with it or read about it in a newspaper, you think they're going to be cool with it? I don't. I think you're going to create more enemies than you are supporters, ultimately in the long run. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm not. Next story is, and actually this man's going to be in here twice because, why the heck not? So this next one is going to be this guy right here in the center. I think you might know who he is. That happens to be the president. And the question is President Donald Trump a noble man? I don't know if you've heard this or not, but apparently, and I can't remember where it was at, someone in Parliament, Sweden maybe? Let's see if it's in the actual story or not. I'll just read this for you so you can see it. So it says, Donald Trump basks in praise as right-wing Norwegian lawmaker nominates him for 2012 Nobel Peace Prize, saying he deserves it more than Obama for brokering diplomatic ties between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. So obviously this is not 2012. Apparently there's not good editors at this newspaper. It wasn't me. I just copied and pasted it. So apparently there's a Norwegian lawmaker who's right-wing, whatever the hell that's even supposed to mean nowadays, nominated Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. Let's just say that, saying he deserved it more than Obama for brokering diplomatic ties between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. And you know what? I have no problem with him being nominated for that. Don't think he's going to win, but I don't see it as being a problem. I don't think. I think what Trump did was pretty good, right? I mean, there's lots of times where we can criticize the president clearly for many things that he does, right? It's not hard. He doesn't make it a difficult task to find things to pick apart to attack the president with, right? But just like a child, and it's sad to say that, but just like a child, when they do something good, you should reward them, right? You should want to reward them. Sorry, but you should. It's just the way it works. You should want to reward someone for doing good. And I don't see a problem with that. Like, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm missing the major point here, because you can say, well, Donald Trump's a terrible person. I don't think he is. I don't think he's a good person necessarily, but maybe he is. I don't think he's a terrible person. I think he's just a narcissistic billionaire. It's just who he is. It's in his blood. It's who he's been for however many years. Was he 70? Whatever he is. 70 old man-ish. Older man, whatever. I don't even know what's an old man anymore, right? But I can't criticize him or attack him or want to attack him because someone else wants to recognize the fact that what he did was a good thing, right? We should want to encourage good behavior, right? We should try to make people focus on those sort of things instead of the negative reaction, right? It's like when a kid acts out, you don't react to their negative behavior. You reinforce the positive behavior. So with Donald Trump, when he does something good, we should encourage it. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I really think we should actually focus more on encouraging positive behavior from the said president. Now, this next one is it's kind of a mixed bag. So I'm not sure if you know who Kerry Walsh Jennings is. She's actually I guess can you even call her a professional beach volleyball? I guess you can. Yeah. She is a professional beach volleyball player. I forgot in the Olympics they used to not allow professionals, but then they started to. So I think she was a professional still on the whatever for regular professional beach volleyball. So yeah, she is a professional beach volleyball player. That being said, let me bring her picture up here. So this is Kerry Walsh Jennings. You might recognize her now that I brought a picture of her up on the screen. And of course, for you of those listening on the podcast, you're not going to be able to see, but just get the idea that she is a very tall, blonde, 42-year-old professional beach volleyball player. I'm sure when summer comes around, you would have seen her, I guess, this last summer during the Olympics, and hopefully you're going to see her next summer in 2021 in Tokyo. But the thing is, we have to keep in mind is that she is human, and she said something that upset some people. It happens, right? But of course, immediately everyone's jumping out to cancel her. So what could she have said that was so terrible? Well, I mean, we'll just look at it together, shall we? It says Olympic beach volleyball star Kerry Walsh Jennings apologizes for Instagram post boasting she went shopping without a mask in a little exercise in being brave, saying, "To those I've upset so deeply, I am sorry." So what occurred is that Kerry Walsh Jennings revealed in an Instagram post that she chose not, so again, very clearly, she chose not to wear a mask inside a store Sunday. That being said, I do not know where she resides. I do not know what the law is, even where she was at when this happened. That being said, I don't know if there was a law stating that she had to. And actually, then those aren't laws. You do realize, right? When there's a mask ordinance or a mask guidance, it's not a law. They can't legally fine you. They can't legally arrest you. That being said, a store can put up that they demand that you wear a mask when you come in. And we should all respect any establishment, especially if it's a private establishment, asking for us to put on a mask. If we don't want to wear a mask, we just don't go in, right? That I think we can all agree on. That's not a problem. It's not a problem with masks. But for whatever reason, she decided she didn't want to wear a mask. She went into a store. The store never complained to her. The store never said, hey, you need to put a mask on. That's not the issue. It wasn't that she said no to the store and she told them to F off or nothing. That's not the issue. She simply, now again, I don't know where she's at. But apparently it's not required, I'm assuming, because otherwise that would have been an issue. But she went into a store, a private store, and no one told her to put a mask on. That part was not an issue. But the 3-time Olympic gold medalist laid out her opposition to wearing masks. She said, people complain about the restrictive and arbitrarily selective rules that we are being strongly suggested to follow, and yet we are all consenting. So again, it's very true. These are not laws. These are guidances. These are people telling us we should do this because it's the best idea. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. This show is not a discussion today on mask safety, mask etiquette. Is it a requirement? Should it be? What's the what is the effectiveness? There we go. Of wearing a mask. As you can tell, it's already late in the day for me. It is. So that's not what this conversation is about. This conversation is literally about she wanting to go out in public without wearing a mask, right? The beach volleyball star 42 then advocated for people to live healthy lives. And she also said that she was not advocating for people to stop wearing masks in public. So even in the original post that she's being criticized for, she didn't actually say, hey, masks are stupid. You shouldn't wear them. You're idiots. And if you do, you're stupid. I mean, that's not what she said, not in the slightest bit. And again, this is going to be very difficult. Let me see if I can blow this up just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Make it a little bit more legible for anyone who's trying to actually read this or follow along at home. And I'm probably not going to read the entire thing, but it says, here we go. I had a little exercise in being brave yesterday, and I'm still a bit edgy about it, which I've heard is true. I actually have a number of friends who have done this, who have decided not to wear masks. I mean, if they walk into an establishment, the establishment says you have to have a mask or leave, they leave. It's not like they're creating, a scene. But I have had friends who have decided that they didn't think it was right. They didn't want to wear masks. And if no one asked them to put one on, they weren't going to put one on. So, and again, that's between them and the private establishment. It's the same way it was with her in this situation. But I've heard people describe that when they do this, they get like a rush. Not like they're wanting a rush. They're not doing it for that reason, but that is kind of part of the entire, going against the grain sort of mentality, right? So it says, I went shopping without a mask on, and this is why. I read a quote the other day that shook me. This has not been enforced. It's been consented to. This statement woke me up, and the truth of it has had me obsessing on the matter of how I can mindfully and compassionately stand up for my rights and for the freedoms of our Constitution has granted us all without being reckless or putting anyone else in danger. We are all endlessly complaining about the restrictive and arbitrarily selective rules that we are being strongly suggested to follow, and yet we are all consenting. Not much of a fight, just a lot of complaining and strongly disagreeing with this manipulation. Interesting term. But we keep consenting. It's maddening. It has crushed our society, people's livelihoods, our children's spirits, and the fabric of our world. We have become a country and a world estranged from each other, and it is more deeply unhealthy than any virus could ever be. It's an interesting stance. Okay, so what she's saying is that this behavior of being, suggested to wear this mask, we've all done it without question. Everyone is doing it. And then any of those who do not do it get attacked, right? That happens. We've seen it everywhere all over the internet. And she is right. It obviously has destroyed people's livelihoods, as well as children. Children have been affected so greatly. I don't know if you are a younger person or if you have a younger sibling or if you have children yourself, but it has really affected them, I'd say, more than anybody. I mean, my children essentially haven't seen their friends not once, other than being on Zoom or something along those lines since March. So, 6 months? Close to it? Right? It's ridiculous. But again, we have become a country and a world estranged from each other. And it is more deeply unhealthy than any virus ever. Well, I don't know if you could ever say that any virus, because there could be, an actual virus that could wipe out, half the world. But that being said, maybe potentially this virus is what she's trying to refer to. I know people are getting sick and many have gone to heaven. I have lived through a lot of loss in my family, in my life. I cherish life. I would never downplay the impact of a single loss of life. That is its own conversation, and my heart goes out to all those. And apparently this was all they had. This wasn't the entire post. Apparently this is a very long post, but you get the idea, right? So she's trying to be diplomatic. She's trying to be tactful. She's trying to say, hey, you know what? I don't really agree with this. And I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to go do this. And obviously nothing happened while it occurred, right? She didn't have any issues or situations where people were telling her, no, put on a mask, do this or leave. She wasn't having, there was no controversy. It's just she decided to do this. Well, people obviously freaked out on her. There was a lot of backlash, a lot of talk of canceling her, a lot of talk of probably her not participating in the Olympics next year. So, of course, she had to make a public apology. So, and again, there's nothing wrong with doing that either. This is her livelihood. She thought that people weren't going to be that upset, and they were. But should people be that upset? People didn't seem to be upset at her in the moment while she was doing whatever it is that she was doing, when she was just living her life and going to the store without a mask on. Should we be that upset about it now? And again, she wasn't in people's face telling that you're wrong, you're silly, you're stupid, you don't know what you're doing, you're wasting your life, you're a terrible human being. She just simply said, well, that these things are hurting us, and basically maybe she was trying to be a trendsetter of moving things forward, right? People don't seem to be getting sick as much, people aren't dying as much or at a quick rate. We hear about all these kids in college getting sick, but have you heard a single one of them dying? No. I'll tell you that right now. Have you heard a single one of them ever even being hospitalized? I haven't. I searched high and low today. It's talk about thousands of these cases all over the country. I can't find a single case where someone was actually hospitalized. No, I'm not saying there haven't been, but if they had been, you think it would be all over the place, right? And I searched anywhere and every source I could think of. I'm talking Reuters, AP, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, it was BBC. I mean, I couldn't find any reports of anyone actually being hospitalized in a college. Maybe there was, but if there was, it has to be a very small number, right? Right. So that being said, hopefully we're getting towards the tail end of this whole COVID thing. We'll see. I mean, it might spike up again now that we're going into the fall. And God forbid what's going to happen with flu season, because people are going to get sick with the flu and people are going to have fevers. People are going to have sneezes. People are going to be coughing. And it's just the flu. It's not COVID. So we'll see. We shall see what happens. Stay tuned for that one. This next person is actually going to be, well, if you're looking for a job, there is one in Dallas. Let's just put it that way. This woman may or may not look familiar to you. Her name is Renee Hall. I think it's like Renee Hall, so I don't know what the U stands for. But she goes by Renee Hall. She is sort of currently the chief of police in Dallas. The first female black chief of police, I believe. Let's see. Dallas's first black female police chief resigns. Top cop joins string of commanding officers across the country who have stepped down after months of protest and violence. I'm going to tell you people right now, this was the goal, right? The goal was never defunding the police. The goal was never destroying the police. The goal was breaking the spirit of the police. And I'm going to tell you right now, they could have never done it without the help of all these mayors and all these governors across the country. This is not a federal issue. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the mayor of Washington, the mayor of Seattle, the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of Dallas, the mayor of New York. These are the people who are backing the protesters and breaking the spirits of the people who are here to help protect us in our time of need. Again, is there reform needed for police? Absolutely. I could spend 4 hours talking about that. And maybe one day we will. Not on this show, probably on the Libertarian Hour. But it's very simple, right? The whole goal of these people who are not the major protesters. Okay, again, these are not the major protesters. When we talk about the protesters, we're talking like 80% of the people have nothing to do with this. They're just standing up for a sentiment. They're standing up for a movement, and they're showing the solidarity with black people and brown people all over the place, right? That's what they're doing. But it's the 20% troublemakers, right? It's the people who belong to Antifa. It's the people who are intertwined in the inner workings of the BLM organization, who are more Marxist type minded people who want to take over and destroy things, right? They want to change. They want to fundamentally change our country. Well, again, it doesn't take a giant revolution. It just takes planting seeds and doing just enough to do things like this, to infiltrate a large movement, to get enough damage done, to hurt enough people, to get, to pressure publicly, to shame mayors so they join your side to protect you even though you're doing, terrible things in public and destroying property and burning things and hurting people, right? And you're forcing these mayors to not take the side of their police departments and turning their back on them and talking about how they're going to defund them and start taking money from them. It doesn't take much, people, right? People don't understand. It doesn't take a giant force for change. It just takes a squeaky wheel and enough squeaky wheels in the right places to make things happen, right? To get those wheels turning and to make change. And this is proof of it. Right? This is absolute proof of it right now, what we're living through. You're going to see in the history books in 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, if our country does indeed change, they're going to be able to pinpoint exactly how it changed and who changed it. You watch. It's going to happen. Hopefully it doesn't change, but if it does, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see it in the history books. So Renee Hall, who I was just mentioning, is the first black woman to lead the Dallas police force. She submitted her resignation Tuesday, but agreed to stay on through the end of the year. Hall's resignation letter, which the city provided to the Associated Press, also known as the AP, didn't give a reason for stepping down. She did not respond to a request for comment. So there you have it, right? It doesn't take much to break the spirit of the police department. And the thing is, you do it in big towns first. You do it in Chicago. You do it in New York. You do it in Dallas. You do it just in the big places. Right, the places that's going to have the most impact. That's the way you do it. Sorry, it's just the way you do it. Now, we only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to get to our next story. And this one is about Georgia. Did Georgia just prove voting fraud exists? What do I mean by that? Well, this man right here. And unfortunately, I do not believe I captured his name, so I apologize. But he is the Secretary of State in Georgia. And this is the one who, is in charge of the voting in the state of Georgia. And Georgia Secretary of State claims to have found 1,000 cases of potential double voting during primaries. Now, which is interesting, is these primaries happened in June, right? But he's making reference to a tweet and a comment that Donald Trump made just days ago, literally a week ago, speaking about this very subject. But it says that days after Donald Trump told his supporters to mail ballots and vote in person. Now, that is absolutely not the truth. Again, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, and I hate the fact that you people make me defend him from time to time. I don't like it, but I'm not going to let something that I've seen with my own eyes be told different. So actually, let's get going. So here it says, Georgia's top elections official said Tuesday that his office has identified about 1,000 cases of potential double voting in the June primary election. These voters submitted absentee ballots, but also voted in person, a problem that happened across 100, not one, 100 Georgia counties. Now, again, mind you, this was months ago. This was way before Trump mentioned anything, right? So this is something that happened. Why does this happen? Because when people mail in their ballots, they don't get confirmation sometimes that their ballot was counted. So they go to the polling place, right? And this is what Trump was talking about. It says these voters submitted absentee ballots, but also voted in person, a problem that happened across 100 Georgia counties, and election officials didn't catch them in time to keep the second votes from being tallied. Secretary of State, here he is, Brad. Wow, that's an interesting name. Brad Raffensperger said. So the first gentleman we saw, apparently that was the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. The revelation follows a suggestion last week by President Donald Trump that people who vote early by mail should show up at their local polling places on Election Day and vote again, which he did. But the complete thought was if their ballots haven't been counted, right? So Donald Trump didn't say, hey, vote twice, vote once by mail, and then go vote in person. He said, no. All right. Well, actually here. So the president said in a series of tweets Thursday that voters who submitted absentee ballots should go to their polling site to see whether or not their mail-in vote had been tabulated, which means counted. If it has been, you will not be able to vote, and the mail system worked properly. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to criticize the fact that these mail-in systems aren't up to par. The voter rolls aren't up to par. The system isn't up to par. And he was telling people, you know what? Make sure your vote's counted. So if you go and you mail in a vote, show up at the poll to make sure that it's counted and that you aren't still showing that you're eligible to vote. The actual tweet, he said, go to your polling place and see whether or not your mail-in vote has been tabulated. If it has, you will not be able to vote and the mail-in system worked properly. If it has not been counted, vote, which is a citizen's right to do. If your mail-in ballot arrives, they'll cancel out the other one. And again, I don't know if he should be given this legal information. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm not defending the president. I'm basically saying, he should be talking about this publicly. I don't think he should. But again, this is Donald Trump. He shouldn't be talking about 90% of the things that he actually talks about on a regular basis. Let's be honest. So, that being said, Donald Trump last week or whatever it was talked about this, yet this occurrence happened in June. Yet they're trying to make the president look bad and saying, see, people are doing what you said, but it had nothing to do with him. Again, if you're going to attack him for something he actually did. Because he does lots of stupid crap. You know he does. He does it all the time. It's nothing new. This is Donald Trump. This is what he does. He's got plenty of resume to pick from. Just pick from it. Stop making up crap to pick on him. I do not like having to defend him. Please stop making me defend him. Please. That being said, everybody, now we are going to do something that we all enjoy. This is going to be what we refer to as our happy ending. I decided about a week or two ago that I keep coming across all these funny and cute videos, and I figured at the end of an episode, lots of times we talk about things that are either sad or upsetting or depressing or just news, and we don't want to hear about it. So we should always end our day or end our broadcast, end our podcast with a smile. And actually, I think the people at home will be able to appreciate this one as much as the people who are watching. So without further ado, I am going to Oops. Gonna have to stop that right quick. Hold on. That's one thing I have to get better at. All right, so we're gonna bring up this right here. Actually, I'm just gonna go full screen here in a second. But I just want to wish you guys a good night. Because I'm gonna get out of here after this. But please enjoy this video. It's rather funny, and it's rather poignant. Actually, tells you a lot. Like we talked about last night, the left doesn't care about you, the right doesn't care about you, and here's a perfect example of what that looks like. So please watch, enjoy, and we will see you all tomorrow. I hope. See you then.
We are here in protest!
We are also here in protest,
What do you think you're doing?
exercising our First Amendment right. What are you doing?
Standing up for what's right!
Bullshit.
Black Lives Matter!
All lives matter.
Abolish the police!
Support our boys in blue.
Wear masks, stay inside!
Coronavirus is a hoax, folks.
Racists, communists,
Fascists!
Snowflakes.
React with pure emotion!
Facts don't care about your feelings, unless they're my feelings.
Violence is okay if you're mad enough!
Finally, I can practice self-defense.
America!
This is fucking great. I couldn't have done it without you.
Anytime, man. Fucking idiots!